With the One UI 7 rollout now rolling away and hopefully finishing up very, very soon, although it does seem to be drawing out quite a bit, I want to take a bit of a look at how Samsung should have done the One UI 7 rollout and potentially how they could have led it in to One UI 8 a lot more flawlessly. Welcome back to SamMobile TV. You're here with Daniel. One UI 7 is slowly but surely making its way to the masses. The S24 series, the Fold and the Flip from last year all seem to have it now. Maybe a few regions don't, but this month we're going to see the S23 series and some other devices starting to get it. With that now finishing up, I really want to reflect on what they could have done and perhaps should have done instead. I think the whole thing that they really wanted to try and do with One UI 7 was rebuild it from the ground up and start with a new interaction system, control panel on the right, notifications on the left, and just have some more fluid animations with some more purpose behind it. I applaud them for that thought process. 100% is something that Samsung needed to do with One UI. I still think the feature set that One UI offers is still the best version or skin of Android with its features that's available on any sort of smartphone, even when you throw iOS into the mix. From a feature standpoint, you won't get much better, especially when you throw Good Lock into the mix. That just then takes it to a completely other level that no other smartphone can really reach. But I think what they did with One UI 7 in delaying it to get it right has ultimately cost Samsung, I guess, some trust in the consumer space. Because their delays, their lack of communication around why things were delayed, and just this secrecy surrounding One UI 7, it feels like people aren't trusting Samsung with their promise of their 7 generations of OS updates because of the fact they've delayed it for so long. So what they could have done, in my opinion, at SDC is outlined a 2-year plan to bring One UI with this One UI 7 sort of update as maybe a One UI 8 target. So instead of, I guess, postponing their standard release cycle that they had been doing and then drip feeding it over the course of 6 months, longer than what it would normally take, communicate that they want to overhaul One UI, but they're working on a longer term strategy, that they maybe have a target to bring One UI and Android in line with the exact timing that Android would normally launch. Because I think that's what they're trying to do. There's a lot of rumors out there that One UI 8 is going to launch alongside the next foldables. And that kind of makes sense. It seems like Samsung want to speed up the One UI development process and bring it in line with when the full version of Android releases. So when we get Android 16, it's going to drop with One UI 8 at the same time as what the Google phones will get it and be one of the earliest to get Android 16 versus one of the later ones. So what I think they could have done is they could have just kept the same schedule. One UI 7 could have been an iteration of One UI 6, perhaps maybe drip feed a couple of new interactions like the control panel, but perhaps save the animations for One UI 8 when the foldables launch. Rather than just really focus on One UI 7 being perfect when, in all honesty, it hasn't been, they could have really got One UI 7 to be an iterative update and then throw all their eggs into One UI 8. It would have given them more development time. It would have put a lot more emphasis on their foldables, because let's face it, that's what Samsung want to push moving forward. They want foldables to become more mainstream, more adopted. And to do that, you might need to put a bit more of a focus on software. And One UI 8 could have done that. And the launch of One UI 8 with its new massive skin could have been the launch pad for Samsung to say, hey, look, here's a new OS, here's a new way of interacting, here's new optimizations, new software features, and gone, this is what we've got. I don't think we would have had this mess that we've found ourselves in, where One UI 7 has kind of become this now almost cursed software, despite how good it is. Let's remember that when you use One UI 7, there's actually very little problems with it right now. There was a couple of bugs that when it launched stably with the unlocking thing where you couldn't unlock your phone properly. This doesn't have it. I just faked that. But at the same time, it's been really good to use. But I don't think that if Samsung launched features like the Now Brief and Audio Eraser with S25 on an older version or older looking version of One UI, like One UI 6.1, people wouldn't have been too disappointed. Had we got this new interaction on One UI 8, that for me would have been a much better launching pad for a complete new version of One UI than the way they've gone. People would have been drawn into excitement. At SDC last year, if Samsung showed that off and said, One UI 7, we're going to be pushing a new engine in the background, but visually it's going to maybe be the same. But then in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to have a massive overhaul of One UI. People would have been absolutely waiting for that next release. Then they could have kept everything as it was last year, and this year reframed it to this new cycle of launching alongside the same version of Android at the same time with One UI. But that's not what they did. They chose to push One UI 7 as the launching pad for this, I guess because the S25 series is probably their main flagship still. The S series still pushes their numbers higher than the foldables do. So if they get it right on here, then at least people will have more eyes on it. But they could have taken a risk and gone, you know what? One UI 8 launching on foldables instead of 0.1.1 of One UI 7, let's go straight to the next one. It looks like they might be doing that anyway. We might be getting the full version of Android 16 and One UI 8 on the next version of the foldables. I already have it on my Galaxy Z Flip 6, a very early version, not ready for consumers, but it's being worked on. So we could already get that. Samsung might already be in the frame of mind of resetting and being in line. And it's a very strange one though, but I think the problem that's existing is the consumer trust isn't there. And had they done things a little bit differently and still had One UI 8 as the target to rebuild One UI in general, there could have been a different thought process from consumers right now. But we're not in that space. Where we are is what's happening. So I want to know what you think Samsung should have done with One UI 7, whether you think they should have saved the development of this new interactions for One UI 8 and kept One UI 7 as an iterative update, or whether they were right to sort of build from the ground up with One UI 7 last year and delay it. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. Hit subscribe to SamMobile TV. Go check out our website for all the latest news on Samsung. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.